You've come to the right place if you're looking to create, launch, and scale a high-value online training program. I'm your guide, Chris Badgett. I'm the co-founder of LifterLMS, the most powerful learning management system for WordPress. Stay to the end. I've got something special for you. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome back to another episode of LMS Cast. I'm Chris Badgett doing a solo episode here, and today we're going to get into cohort-based online courses versus self-paced online courses, how to decide which one is the right one for you. I've got a surprise for you in this episode. There is a hybrid version, which we'll get into too, which I'm a big fan of. But first, let's start with a self-paced course. Like, what does that mean? So a self-paced course is like the courses that you see on websites like Udemy or Masterclass. They often contain a series of valuable video lessons, maybe some quizzes, maybe some worksheets, but it's self-paced. There's really not much teacher interaction, probably none at all. This is why you have some of the best instructors or subject matter experts in the world on a platform like Masterclass. They create a wonderful course with awesome ideas and content and stories, but you can't interact with them at all. And that's why Masterclass costs $20 a month, basically. Same with Udemy. It's mostly just self-paced online courses, and self-paced online courses are great. For example, we have a self-paced online course at LifterLMS called the LifterLMS Quick Start course. It's a self-paced course that essentially teaches you the 5% of the most essential features of LifterLMS so that you can create and launch an online course website and start getting sales. We show you all the critical steps in under 40 minutes of training. That's a very powerful, popular, free, self-paced online course that we make at Lifter LMS. So what is a cohort-based online course? A cohort-based online course is where a group of people come into a course and they kind of go through it together at the same time. So if you think back to the offline world, so when you go to school, you're the class of whatever year, you're kind of with a cohort of freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, and so on. And you move as a cohort through the system. So that's what a cohort-based online course is. So that's how they're different. And a cohort has a lot of magic that comes with it, but it also comes with some trade-offs. And by magic that comes with it, what I mean is it's a very different thing to be an individual, like by yourself, taking a self-paced online course, learning about a subject versus kind of joining a group of people or a cohort that are going through a training at the same time. So they're very different and they have their pros and cons, which we'll jump into. So a self-paced online course can be great. I'm going to go over the benefits of those. For one, they're extremely scalable. So you could put a self-paced online course up on your website, and if it gets very popular, you literally have no work to do primarily except for to keep the website online, and you could have 10 or 10,000 or 300,000 people in the same self-paced online course moving through it. And that's great. So it's like extremely scalable and can create evergreen revenue. Now, if you do self-paced online courses, which a lot of people do, I do recommend, revisiting it every couple of years, maybe making it a little better, making improvements based on what you've learned and user feedback and things like that. But nothing beats the scalability and the evergreen revenue nature of a self-paced online course. The other benefit is it's super flexible. There are benefits in a cohort-based online course of having a community and group of people, But that also creates a lot of, kind of social pressure. It can, where, okay, the student's going to be more involved with the instructors or the coaches. So there's a social demand. If you're going through it with a community or you have a community aspect to your site that's set up so that the cohort kind of sticks together, that can be a lot of pressure. So, like a self paced online course, there's literally no social pressure. Like, here it is. This is an awesome course. It's designed to get you the result that you're looking for. Good luck. Do it at your own time, at your own pace, whenever you want, and so on. So that kind of autonomy, that flexible learner autonomy is a big benefit to a self-paced online course. In terms of the course creator, there's a much lower overhead to doing a self-paced online course. You don't have the pressure of a live audience if you're actually delivering the content live, or doing like a cohort based group coaching model that kind of bolts on to your course and so on. So it's sort of like you build it once, you set it up, you launch it, you do the marketing, you get students, and you're good. It's just self-paced and it's just more on autopilot with a lot less management and overhead sitting on top of that. So where self-paced online courses really shined is for information heavy courses. So similar to how in traditional school, there are only so many hours in the day and school weeks in the year. There's only so much information that you can put in there, but a self-paced online course could literally have tons of information. And maybe you have somebody who's going to move through it really fast, or you have somebody who's going to take a year to work through the material. So you have that ability, if it's self-paced, that people can pick and choose, set it around their schedule, their availability, their speed they like to learn and implement, and so on. So if you have an information-heavy online course, a self-paced online course can be fantastic for that. And also, self-paced courses really fit well when you're doing a large audience, right? You can have large cohorts, but if you have a really big audience, a self-paced online course is going to be easier to manage. And particularly if your audience is very diverse and, there's more variability in what we would call the student avatar or customer avatar, a self-paced online course can be good for large audiences with people coming from varying backgrounds, where the cohort just wouldn't be as effective as a tightly scoped, smaller group with very similar people in it and things like that. So the cons of a self-paced online course is the dirty little secret in our industry is that they do have lower completion rates and lower results or students getting the transformation that the course offer promises. And the reason for that is when somebody is like kind of alone in a self-paced online course with very little support around them or community, it is much easier for somebody to get distracted, not finish, lose motivation, and so on. So that's a drawback to the self-paced online course, because there's really limited accountability. You don't have that peer accountability or that instructor accountability. And it's much harder to build a community around a self-paced online course. For example, you could have a self-paced online course and then put a social learning community on your website or on social media, like in a Facebook group or a Slack group. But for a self-paced online course, when people are coming in at all different times from all different backgrounds and so on, it's much harder for them to connect with each other. The example I like to give there is if you've ever come into a community and it feels like the people in the community have been like doing this thing for like many, many years and they all know each other, it can feel really intimidating and so on. And they're just at a different level because they've already, they're further along in the training or implementation and so on. So community building with a self-paced evergreen online course is much harder. Self-paced online courses also have lower perceived value because you don't have that benefit of the cohort and a group coaching model that's designed, or even one-on-one coaching that goes with it, where it's designed to work with a cohort of people who are all progressing through something at the same time. Because of that, a self-paced online course cannot command as high of a price point as a well-orchestrated cohort-based course. So, switching gears over to cohort-based online courses, some of the benefits is they do have higher completion rates and student results and transformations, simply because the cohort supports on top of like the training content. A self-paced online course is mostly the training content, but a cohort just adds a whole other value layer that helps, it helps you command higher prices, but more importantly, it helps support students. It's a support mechanism. A cohort is part of the offer, if you will. There's a saying in the online business world that I've experienced myself on the other end of, which is sometimes you'll go to a learning opportunity and the saying is, you come for the content, but you stay for the community. That's definitely happened to me before, where I came in with a cohort, made friends, colleagues, business relationships, and so on. And I stayed month after month, year after year because of the power of the cohort. Though I originally came in my mind just for the high value content. So well-done cohort-based courses have built-in accountability and structure. I'm a big fan of cohorts that are delivered live. So like a training call that happens at the same time every week, where you have the main training content and then you have a window of time open for Q&A or coaching. And once you get in that rhythm week after week, and I'm not saying cohorts last forever. A lot of cohorts are for like 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks, 12 weeks, 3 months, 6 months. And I personally like cohorts that don't go on forever, because what that does is the education entrepreneur gets really good at perfecting a process that, has a starting point and an end point with the transformation, and it's not a lifelong commitment, and they get better and better at delivering those results. That is super powerful. Whereas in a self-paced online course, they're going for scale and to get as many people in as possible. Whereas a cohort-based model, yes, they want to get as many people as possible, but it's more about perfecting the transformation and supporting the learner and, providing all the different types of content and support and coaching so that they actually get the result that they promise, while adding the benefit of a community of peers, i.e. a cohort that moves through the training with them. Because of that, a cohort-based online course does command premium pricing, so higher price points. And there's that whole learn, do, teach loop that goes around and around. Cohorts are much more powerful in terms of having an open feedback loop with real people so that the course creator can get better through feedback, and the learner can also get better by giving and accepting feedback. So the feedback cycle is just much tighter and more powerful. It's more of a flywheel in a cohort-based online course. So some of the drawbacks of a cohort-based online course is the scheduling and just the facilitation of it. So recently at LifterLMS, I ran a cohort-based online course. It was a 9-week course, but with a weekly call for an hour. This episode of LMS Cast is brought to you by Pop-Up Maker, the most powerful, trusted pop-up solution for WordPress. Whether you're selling online courses or memberships, Pop-Up Maker helps you grow your email list, boost sales conversions, and engage your visitors with highly customizable pop-ups. Imagine creating custom opt-ins, announcements, and promotions that actually convert. I personally use Pop-Up Maker on my Lifter websites for lead magnet opt-ins, cart abandonment, upsells, downsells, and guiding users to helpful content. Pop-Up Maker is an essential tool for growing my email list and making more money online through my website. Ready to take your website to the next level? Head on over to wppopupmaker.com/LMScast and save 15% on your order. Discount automatically applies when you visit through that link. Pop-Up Maker also has an awesome free version, so you can just use that as well. Go to wppopupmaker.com/LMScast and save 15% off your order, or get started with the free version now. Get more leads and sales on your website with Pop-Up Maker today. Now back to the episode. I did what I recommended earlier, which is I would have about 45 minutes of training and content for the lesson of the day that I prepared. I prepared a worksheet. I had time open on that call for questions and coaching. And it's a lot of work. And I'm a big fan of pre-selling. That offer was out in the market before I had completed it. I hadn't done any of it except for the work of figuring out what I was going to do and the outline and my plan, but I hadn't actually created the training. So at launch, I didn't have any of it, but I just had to stay 1 week ahead of the people coming in and the next lesson. So for every hour of class, there was about at least 4 hours of prep before. And then after it's over, there's a bunch of work to do to get the video ready and all the stuff ready for the people that couldn't attend live that were also in the cohort. So it's a lot of scheduling and facilitation. It just has a lot of operational complexity that's much more complex than a simple self-paced online course. A cohort-based course can also be much harder to scale because as cohorts get bigger, it can be more challenging to give them what they need. And what I mean by that is if you're doing coaching as part of the cohort experience, if the coaching group gets too big, you won't be able to get to everybody's questions, which has happened to me before. I've been in cohorts where that's happened, and it's kind of a letdown. And what you can solve that, you can systemize and scale with bringing in other coaches or coaching assistants and things like that to, provide some scale, but it is much harder to scale. And then a cohort-based online course also has higher expectations from the learners, particularly if you have charged a more of a premium price for the cohort-based learning experience. So you really need to, it's not really a con, but just you got to know that you got to rise to the occasion and deliver the value that you promised with your cohort and the cohort-based price. My favorite thing to do is what I call the hybrid model. So this is where you combine the best of self-paced with a cohort-based model. So the simple way to think about that is I want to have a self-paced online course, but instead of me going into my office cave and creating that, self-study online course and making all the lesson videos and being by myself talking to the camera, I like to do a live delivery through a cohort and then take the recordings of all that and then turn that into an evergreen course that stays up on my website for a long time. So that's a kind of a hybrid model. Another way to hybridize it is to make the course self-study, but make the coaching that accompanies it cohort-based. So what I mean by that is you could have your signature program online course, the self-study, and let's say you launch it twice a year or 4 times a year with a new cohort of people. So this is like an open cart, closed cart scenario. you have a product launch 2 or 4 times a year, but you're launching the same product. But what's new in your launch is the group of people coming in to form a cohort that you actively support with additional group coaching calls or even private coaching calls and so on. That's a really awesome hybrid model where you deliver the best of self-paced courses while tacking on cohort-based coaching. So let's talk about the technical implementation of this. It's easy to overcomplicate it, but I'm telling you, it doesn't have to be super complicated. So if you have a WordPress site and you put LifterLMS on there, LifterLMS out of the box, everything you need to make a self-paced online course. You can add your videos, your lessons, your worksheets. You can add quizzes, assignments, and so on. So it's really good to go. Like, just Lifter self-paced online courses. It's been around forever on the internet. Lifter does a great job at that. But when it comes to cohorts, you can also do that. So there's a couple of things you can do. One of them is to start using some of the Lifter features like course start and end dates or course enrollment periods. So an enrollment period is how you do product launches. So if you want to do a product launch you can even use the same course over and over again if you'd like. And you can, let's say, people can enroll in the new year cohort between January 1 and January 14th. That's your product launch window. But then the course start date is, let's say, on January 14th, and then we're off to the races with that cohort. So that's one way to think about it. LifterLMS actually has a dedicated course cohort add-on you can use. So you put in the course cohorts add-on plugin onto your WordPress site, and what that allows you to do is to take any course on your site, click one button, and it immediately creates a new cohort where you enter in, the future start date for that cohort and so on. You can even automatically hide the previous version of that course from the public website. It's still in the background for people that need retained access to that course. But that way, all the future cohorts, like the current cohort is the one that's like live on your site that people can actually buy and sign up for. So check out the LifterLMS course cohorts. We also have a continuing education add-on, which does some fancy stuff in the CEU market. But what it also has is the ability, if you have a situation where a user needs to take the same course over and over again, like once every year or once every 3 years, as a new cohort, you can just click a button inside the continuing education add-on setup so that people have retained access to that course for a year. But after that, they're moved out, their progress is gone, and then they can rebuy and come in again in a year as a new cohort in the exact same course. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. The reason, like an example of people to do that is in health and safety training. Sometimes you have to recertify every year, like as a lifeguard, you got to get your CPR first aid skills re-upped every year. So you go through the same training as a cohort every year to recertify. That's why it's called continuing education. And then in terms of integrating live components of a cohort, it's really easy to overcomplicate it, but I don't think it needs to be that complicated at all. So first, you have your LifterLMS site. Maybe you're using the course cohorts add-on or continuing education. You can deliver lessons live with a tool like Zoom. As an example, you can record those cohort-based trainings. They're called instructor-led trainings, to be technical, ILT, instructor-led training. So that's how you deliver your course content. You hit the record button when you're in the Zoom. After it's over, you take that recording video file and you upload it into your LMS, into the lesson. And before you put it in the lesson, like before that lesson, there was a link to join the Zoom call at the scheduled time. So now you're just using the learning management system and a tool like Zoom to deliver the cohort-based experience as well as capture the video content for that lesson. You can also add communities inside your LMS. So LifterLMS has a social learning add-on, which you can use to create an online community, sort of like a Facebook group on your website. And it will have different pockets for each cohort if they're all in like one course. So they could have their own discussion area as just that cohort. So instead of like a broad community that anything goes, you have the ability to segment by cohort, which is pretty cool. And then finally, I would say that there's really no limit to how fancy you want to get with tools and technology, but try to keep it as simple as possible for your cohort-based courses and for your users. Is really powerful. Again, there is nothing better or worse. One is not better than the other, self-paced versus cohort-based online courses. They each have their pros and cons. Just decide on the one which is right for you. If you want a more intimate experience, you want to have a higher price point, and you really care deeply about student results and value community-based learning, a cohort-based model is probably the way to go for you. But if you have like a signature program and you would prefer to keep your interaction with others to a minimum, more like the way a nonfiction book author publishes a book, there's no cohort, there's just people out there reading the book, and it's an awesome book. If that's what you want, a self-paced online course is a great way to do it. I also want to mention there is an add-on for LifterLMS called Groups, which is a cohort of sorts where a company or a school or organization buys a group of seats in a course so that, and then they give out those seats to their employees or team members or students or friends or whatever. And that is a cohort of sorts too. So there's really a ton of options. If you go to the LifterLMS website and take the Perfect Offer Playbook course, we go into much greater detail about how to design your model. But today I wanted to speak with you specifically about the difference between self-paced and cohort-based models. It's very important that if you can figure out which way you want to go, or if you want to do a hybrid model, to kind of get your plan in place before you start creating content and, getting on a recurring, live delivery schedule. Like really think it through, think about your constraints, your capacity, your personality, and really plan out the structure before you get too deep into the implementation. So that's it. I'm Chris from LifterLMS. It's great to be with you on the journey. And if you have any questions at all about how to do whatever self-paced or cohort-based learning model, you can always connect with the LifterLMS team and myself. We're easy to find. You can find us at lifterlms.com, all over social media and everywhere else. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.
And that's a wrap for this episode of LMS Cast. Did you enjoy that episode? Tell your friends and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And I've got a gift for you over at lifterlms.com/gift. Go to lifterlms.com/gift. Keep learning, keep taking action, and I'll see you in the next episode.